Buck-Davidson, I use the Equilibrium Air Light Cross Country Boot because they're ultra protective, lightweight, and they don't absorb water.
Hi, I'm Mick Costello. I'm the course builder for Rolex Kentucky 3-day event and have been for longer than I can remember. 16 years. But this is an interesting course this year. Derek's made a whole bunch of changes, and I bought a sawmill, so it has a kind of a different look to it. I started eventing in California as a pony clubber. Went to a D rally at Hollywood Park in 1961. So Hollywood Park is closed now. But yes, and in order to pay for riding lessons and stuff, we all worked. And we also put on huge 3-day events in Pebble Beach in the 60s. And I supervised the building and did a lot of the building on what's now called a 1, 2, and 4-star course in 1969, right after I graduated high school. After we had a 3-day event every Labor Day and horse trials every Memorial Day in Pebble Beach, and then we'd go to Ram Tap and a couple of other smaller events in California. I was supposed to take my B test for a pony club, and it was the same weekend as the horse trials, so I couldn't go because I had to build the course. I came across in '85 for my first trip east, and well, I'd been here, I've been around the country before, but went to Radnor 3-day event, and then Pete and I built that in '86 and '87, and then they started Fair Hill in '89, and had a couple of builders before me, but I ended up finishing for '89 and built its first 6 years. And then built Radnor on my own from '91 to 2001. I built other things a lot in California, remodeled houses and sold and built hot tubs and decks, and but I always ended up building a course or two every year and helping Pete at Wild Horse. He did 3 courses a year at Wild Horse, 2 horse trials and a 3-day event. And I was always doing it, I was just doing other stuff too. And when Pete built the Olympics, he got a little popular, and so I started helping him. We built in Wyoming, and I was actually in Maine building a course when they needed me for Fair Hill, and I had to finish that fast and go do the first Fair Hill. The carving, we started that in 2000. I carved that fox that we jumped for a while. But the carving is, as Mikey S. said, you have to give the punter something to look at between horses because they're only coming every 5 minutes. And so it's more than a cross-country course. It's art form. It's something to look at for everybody. And they come out, and there's a lot of time between horses, especially if somebody has a problem at the start of the course. So you can't just put up a log and 2 flags and call it done. I love that fox. We used it for 3 or 4 years. The squirrel tails were fun, and before that the porcupines. Pete did the first porcupine, and then Mike had me do 2 for a couple of years. That's drilling thousands of holes in this log that has a porcupine head and sticking brush in it for hours and hours and hours and hours, days it seemed like. But no, it's been fun over the years. I'm not a designer. I knew that. I worked with an interior designer for a lot of years, and I could do what she said, but I knew I didn't have the, I knew I could figure out and add to what she wanted, but I don't have the initial vision to do it, and I've always known that. So, a lot of the jumps are my own design, and I have enough experience with eventing and with how horses jump, and learn from the very, very best in the world. Mike E.S. and Mark Phillips, and I haven't worked with Scotty, but I'd like to. But Mike E.S. I think he sees like horses do, and like I read everything he writes now because I don't see him anymore. But a year ago Christmas, he did a thing at Hartbury with David O'Connor, and here he said, you never want to put something dark above something light because the horses are focusing on the light. So I've been very careful about that. If it's going to be dark, it's going to be thick and maybe have a stripe, but you want to have the you don't want to pull the horse's eye down and have him trip on something that he doesn't see. But no, as I was saying, I do design some of the jumps, or and I'll tell Derek, do you mind if we do it this way and stuff, and as long as it doesn't detract from his design, he's been great with it. He actually helped me on that 69 3-day at Pebble Beach. He was 14, and he helped me the last 3 or 4 weeks. He lived at Pebble Beach it wasn't really a dorm, but this house where the kitchen was, and he and Pete were in the living room on beds, and then Eric Horgan, and I forget who was in with Eric. Oh, Josh Hall, who's now a vet in South Florida, and then Richard Sands, who rode in the Munich Olympics, and I were in the other bedroom. But yeah, that was quite a summer. This year?
Yes.
I think the new keyhole is fun. I mean, everybody's doing keyholes this year, so we did one. And I bought this sawmill last summer. There was a show here, and one of the Hunter course designers bought one, and then his jump builder bought one, and I went down and looked at him, and a couple of weeks later I broke down and bought one and set it up in the tent, and it's been fun because there's so many trees that fall down here, and you can't really ship ash trees anywhere even with firewood. So I've been slicing up a lot of logs, and I was slicing up. I was going to do a keyhole like Fair Hills, which was just it's dimensional lumber. I wasn't going to use dimensional lumber, but I was going to use straight. And then one of the boards that I cut for the bottom of it had this really cute curve on the end, and so I looked around for curvy logs and sliced them up and destroyed the shoe on the sawmill because it's hard to hold a curved log, and it just whacked into the shoe and broke it. And I was weeks waiting for parts. The sawmill guy sent it without postage and got it back, and then. But anyway, so it took some doing this winter, plus it was a winter from hell. I think my favorite was Bruce and Jam in 2002. We had about 4 inches of rain on Saturday, and Bruce was the second to the last horse, and he had just a foot perfect course. It was just incredible, and it was muddy and nasty. I mean, we've been putting gravel down all day, and she never put a foot wrong. It was cool. I'd really like to see some of the French ones. Le Lion. Whoever does the carving there, I love that spider and the dachshund that's gone to ground, and the dragon and stuff. I would really like to see those. I think Derek's done a nice job this year. I think I don't have any idea what the weight course is going to be like. I didn't really get to see the test event last year, but I think just knowing what I know of Pierre Michelet, I think this might be a good warm-up. It'll be interesting to see what Giuseppe does at Badminton.